to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Hello, my name is Owen Thorne, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this gentle bedtime story. As you settle in, let your entire body grow heavier, sinking softly into your bed or favorite chair. Your eyes can drift closed if they wish, and with each slow breath, feel any lingering tension slip away. In a moment, we'll explore a peaceful morning scene at Snow White's cottage, where the first rays of the sun dance through tall forest trees, and birdsong floats on the misty air. For now, simply allow yourself to be here, in this quiet space, and let the outside world fade. Feel your shoulders ease down, your jaw loosen, and your mind begin to wander on the edge of awareness. Focus on the gentle rhythm of your breath. Inhale the restful energy around you, and exhale all that feels burdensome or distracting. This is your time, a calm retreat from the demands of the day. Let your breathing guide you deeper into relaxation, each measured breath leading you toward a softer, slower pace. Notice how your body feels heavier, yet somehow lighter at the same time. You are safe, you are warm, and you are ready to embark on a journey through soft rays of dawnlight and the comforting hush of forest leaves. Now, as you settle more completely, prepare to drift into a tranquil realm where a simple cottage waits in the early morning glow, touched by the promise of a new day. From this moment on, let the story unfold in its own gentle rhythm, carrying you toward rest. The forest is waiting, and a gentle hush envelops the clearing where Snow White's cottage stands. The sun is only just peeking over the horizon. Beyond the wildflowers and whispering pines, the tale begins. In a quiet glade at the heart of an old forest, Snow White's cottage welcomed the first pearly beams of sunrise. Overnight dew still crowned the blades of grass, tiny droplets reflecting the dawn like precious jewels. A delicate hush hung upon the clearing, the kind of softness that exists only in those fleeting moments before the birds wake to greet the sun. High above, the sky was a canvas gently shifting from midnight blue to lavender, and then blossoming into a pale rose. Each color spread across the heavens as smoothly as watercolors, blending on an artist's palette. Inside the cottage, a warm stillness filled the small, tidy rooms. Wooden beams stretched overhead, and modest furniture, carved by careful hands, offered a comforting sense of home. The fireplace, used the night before to heat a pot of vegetable soup, now slumbered in cool ashes. Only the faint scent of sweet herbs and spices lingered in the air, hinting at the peaceful meal shared the evening prior. Everything spoke of quiet contentment. The wooden bowls stacked neatly on a shelf, the braided rug that protected bare feet from a chilly floor, and the window curtains drawn back to invite the day's gentle light. Snow White rested in a little bed near a window slightly ajar. A breeze, faint and gentle, caressed her cheek as it slipped in, bringing with it the earthy fragrance of pine needles and damp wildflowers. Outside, the forest seemed to wait with bated breath. The hush was not absence of sound, but rather a reverent pause. Gradually, as though deciding the moment was ripe, the birds began their dawn chorus. One by one, slender throats trilled and sang, weaving a tapestry of delicate melodies. Their calls rippled through the air, sweet and uplifting, coaxing the forest to awaken. The first note, like a distant flute, came from a tall spruce near the cottage's eaves, announcing the start of daybreak. Another bird joined in from a hidden branch among the oaks, adding a vibrant warble. Soon the chorus grew, each feathered friend contributing its own unique phrase. Whistles, chirps, and soft coos. The sound was like the gentle unravelling of sleep, a melodic stirring that teased any lingering dreams away. Across the glade, a hush of admiration accompanied these voices, for no one and nothing seemed rushed. The forest revealed its beauty at a leisurely pace, allowing time to savour each breath, each moment, and each new ray of sunlight. Snow White stirred softly as that dawn chorus seeped into her slumber. Her eyelids fluttered, and she stretched beneath a cozy blanket. Curiosity led her to open her eyes just a little, peeking at the pastel glow of morning through the window. The day was still young, the light still soft. She breathed in the crisp morning air, tinged with the scent of wild chamomile. The gentle music of birds reached her ears, and she felt a serene joy bloom in her chest, as if every note was a kindly invitation to greet the day with gratitude. A simple wooden dresser stood against the cottage wall, adorned with a modest bouquet of forest flowers. Snow White had picked the previous afternoon. Their petals had slightly wilted overnight, yet they still radiated a quiet charm. The memory of gathering them, of kneeling by sunlit patches of green, gently placing each stem in a basket, tugged softly at her heart. She rose from her bed, the old wooden floor cool beneath her feet, and approached the window, wanting to see how the morning had dressed the forest. The hush of the world beyond, broken only by birdsong, soothed her fully awake with kindness rather than urgency. Pushing the window open, she let the air swirl in more freely, scattering the delicate curtains. It carried with it the rustle of leaves overhead and the faint tinkling of a hidden stream somewhere behind the cottage. The birds, upon seeing Snow White's silhouette, seemed to sing all the more enthusiastically. In that glade, under the tender reach of sunlight, the cottage appeared almost like a vision from a gentle dream, a place that existed between the boundaries of the waking world and the realm of hushed fantasy. Stepping outside, Snow White took in the forest around her. Tall pines and mighty oaks stood like guardians, their branches swaying in the mild breeze. A carpet of soft moss pressed comfortably beneath her shoes, and whenever she stepped closer to patches of wildflowers, a sweet fragrance rose to greet her. She smiled at a robin perched on a post near the cottage door, its bright eyes reflecting the soft morning glow. The small creature tilted its head as if to say good morning. In that magical quiet, even the simplest greetings felt special. Gathering a wooden bucket, she walked a short path to an ancient well that stood amid a ring of stones. Overhead, more birds darted from branch to branch, cutting graceful shapes in the mild air. With a gentle hum, Snow White lowered the bucket, hearing the dull splash echo up from the darkness below. As she pulled it back, water glistened in the first direct rays of sunlight. Tiny droplets sparkled, then fell back in glittering arcs, giving everything a sense of subdued enchantment. She paused for a moment, just to breathe and feel the morning around her. A symphony of bird calls, the cool of water, the comforting presence of the forest. Once she returned to the cottage, she poured some of the fresh water into a basin near the door. A few birds, braver than the rest, fluttered down to drink, happily chirping as if they had no worries at all. Their gentle conversation mingled with Snow White's soft laughter. She knelt quietly, so as not to startle them, and watched their glossy feathers ruffle in delight. Time seemed suspended in that tender exchange of trust and warmth. Inside, a cozy kitchen nook awaited. The small table, lovingly built from sturdy pine, sat beneath a window that let in a lively golden beam. Tiny motes of dust danced in that shaft of light, swirling gently whenever the breeze sneaked through a crack in the door. Snow White moved about, setting out a simple breakfast of fresh berries and warm bread. She inhaled the comforting aroma, and as she took a quiet moment to settle at the table, she contemplated the gentle miracle of morning. Each day brought new chances to open one's eyes to nature's gifts. A sunrise, birds in flight, a glistening drop of dew. On the edge of the clearing, near a cluster of birch trees, small woodland creatures began to stir. A family of rabbits with soft ears and bright eyes ventured out from under a tangle of brush. They sniffed the air before hopping forward in playful little bounds, exploring the grass dappled in patches of sunlight. Nearby, a pair of squirrels chattered as they raced up a trunk, pausing occasionally to peek at the clearing, as if marveling at the gentle scene themselves. Snow White finished her meal and moved outside again, drawn by the peaceful company of the forest. She made her way to a hand-carved bench near a cluster of ferns. Moss grew around its base, and delicate patterns of lichen spread across the wood. Settling there, she closed her eyes to listen fully to the songs around her. A shy finch glided overhead, adding a cheery trill to the breeze's hushed rustle. Every note was vibrant yet soothing, weaving through her thoughts until her mind felt light and clear. The sunlight deepened its gold as the morning progressed, yet within that forest glade, everything remained tranquil. Shadows stretched a little longer, and the dew on each leaf began to evaporate in slow, shimmering wisps. Gentle warmth spread across the cottage's stone walls. The forest awakened further, but never in a rush. Each moment felt like a secret, soft, intimate, and graciously offered to those who paused to witness it. leaves brushed against one another softly, and the sound was akin to a whisper, the forest exchanging sweet nothings with the wind. In time, Snow White rose, drawn by the gentle urge to tend the cottage garden. She walked around the cottage's side, where a small patch of herbs grew: rosemary, thyme, and mint. Dewdrops still clung to the leaves, and she carefully patted the moisture away before picking a few sprigs. The crisp, clean aroma filled the morning air, blending perfectly with the surrounding scents of pine and wild blossom. Beside the herbs, a row of young flowers held their bright heads up to the sun, as though greeting it with shy optimism. Snow White spent a peaceful few minutes weeding, ensuring each plant had space and air to flourish. The earth felt cool against her hands, and that physical connection grounded her in the present moment. Overhead, more birds arrived, drawn by the cottage's safety and the gentle energy that radiated from it. They perched on branches, forming a lively chorus that rose and fell in harmonious waves. Bluebirds, cardinals, sparrows, their voices mingled, creating a living lullaby that both awakened the world and soothed it simultaneously. The forest carried their songs far beyond the clearing, stirring drowsy creatures to greet the day with gentle curiosity. After some quiet work in the garden, Snow White paused and brought a hand to her chest, feeling a soft gratitude for the simple joys of the morning. She thought of how precious it was to witness the world unfolding in these gentle hours, far from busyness and worry. Soft pine needles formed a cushion beneath her feet as she strolled toward a cluster of daisies swaying gently. She knelt down, letting her fingers brush the white petals, noticing how each flower turned slightly to follow the sun. The cottage door stood open, welcoming in the breeze and the songs that drifted across the glade. Softly, Snow White moved inside, crossing to a small wooden cupboard where she kept a few well-worn books and scraps of parchment filled with recipes for breads, pies, and teas. From within, she took a journal, bound simply in cloth. She opened it to jot down notes of the morning's wonders, the colour of the sunrise, the songs she heard, the calm she felt. Her handwriting flowed, each letter a reflection of the serenity in her heart. By mid-morning, a warm, comforting glow spread throughout the clearing. The birds, in various corners of the forest canopy, continued their music, though now at a gentler volume, as though they too were settling into the day. Snow White stood by the open window, hands lightly resting on the windowsill, gazing out at the gentle hustle of small forest life. Bees hummed over the wildflowers, their gentle drone blending into the ambient hush. In that moment, everything seemed to align in perfect harmony. Nature's subtle rhythms, the sun's slow ascent, and the quiet contentment that warmed each stone in the cottage walls. Wishing to share her gratitude, Snow White stepped out again with a small clay bowl filled with seeds. Quiet as she was, some of the shyer birds took flight at her approach, fluttering to higher branches to watch with bright eyes. She sprinkled the seeds on a patch of soft earth near the cottage's entrance, then stepped back to watch. One by one, curious birds hopped down. First a brave robin, then a gentle sparrow, followed by a couple of chittering finches. They pecked at the seeds, their little heads bobbing up and down. With no hurry or fear, they ate, occasionally pausing to glance at the calm figure who offered this morning treat. The gentle day pressed on, the sense of time stretching like a soft ribbon carried by the breeze. Nothing demanded urgency. No voices broke the hush with clamour. Instead, the forest breathed in a collective reverie, and the cottage stood at its heart like a keeper of quiet wonders. Shadows, once long and faint, shifted as the sun reached higher overhead. Rays filtered through branches, illuminating patches of moss, small clusters of mushrooms, and the occasional scurrying chipmunk searching for a morsel to nibble. Snow White took a shallow wooden bucket and strolled to the edge of the forest where wild berry bushes flourished. Their leaves rustled as she approached, and a few small birds fluttered out from the thickets, startled but unafraid. She found ripe berries glistening in the soft light, small jewels of red and blue. Carefully, she picked them, placing each gently in the bucket, mindful of the forest's delicate balance. She hummed a lilting tune under her breath, inspired by the melodies that had drifted through the dawn. With each berry collected, she remembered simpler times, moments spent in the warm sunshine of past mornings, the closeness of friends, the sense of quiet optimism that accompanied every sunrise. The day's tasks were soothing by nature, no rush, no heavy burdens. There was only this harmonious collaboration between the cottage's caretaker and the living forest around it. Even the gentle rustling of her skirt against the tall grass seemed part of the greater melody that played in the clearing. Back at the cottage, she rinsed the berries in cool water, reveling in the clean, sweet scent that rose from them. On the rustic wooden counter, she arranged them in a simple bowl, the deep reds and purples glowing in the shafts of sunlight that drifted in through the open door. She sat for a moment, admiring their natural beauty. Now and then, the wind carried a distant birdsong or the faint murmur of a creek. Each sound reminded her of the morning's gentle gift. Hours passed in a sleepy current of peace. Snow White paused to rest, sitting on the old bench by the ferns. She let her mind wander as the gentle hush lulled her into a light doze. The forest was calm yet lively, a study in balance. The bright wings of a butterfly flashed nearby, and the hush of the breeze through leaves played like an endless lullaby. In that suspended moment, it felt as though time itself had slowed to honor the beauty of nature's daily renewal. Even the sunshine seemed calmer, caressing rather than glaring. As midday approached, the birds softened their songs into mellow chirrups, a kind of conversation among themselves, as though they, too, were resting in the comfortable warmth. The beams of sunlight shifted once more, illuminating new corners of the clearing. Everything remained harmonious and gentle, an unbroken thread of calm that winded softly through the hours. Eventually, Snow White rose from her peaceful seat to gather a few more necessities, checking on the small stored items in her cupboard, and ensuring her simple home was in gentle order. She took pleasure in small tasks, folding linens, tidying a shelf, and dusting a little wooden figure shaped like a fawn. Each simple act felt meditative, a way of communing with the quiet around her. The forest outside continued its subtle song, the hush of leaves and the rustle of small creatures shifting like a comfortable lull in the background. In this realm, there was no rush, no pressing duty, and no conflict, only the continuous, comforting presence of the tall trees and the soft beams of an ever-patient sun. The cottage stood as a sanctuary for all who passed by. Birds, rabbits, squirrels, and the occasional deer stepping through the dappled light. Here, the morning elongated into a dreamy reverie, as if time willingly paused to let the world rest. Beyond the well and the wildflowers, the hidden creek whispered, its gentle trickle an anchor of calm. The water had made its winding way from distant hills, carrying with it a melody as ancient as the forest itself. If one listened closely, it was possible to hear a lullaby in the water's song, something that reminded the listener of safe harbors, gentle evenings, and the unbroken chain of life that connected all living things. The birds understood this lullaby, for their own songs rose in a playful counterpoint, shifting to match the creek's gentle, mesmerizing flow. Through it all, Snow White existed in a state of quiet gratitude. She tended her small chores, welcomed the company of forest creatures, and found in each breath a reminder that the morning's hush was a gift. The world around her glowed in a tender, forgiving light. Flowers opened their delicate petals, and the leaves above swayed in a languid dance, as if saluting the bright orb of the sky. In this place, there was no cause for alarm, no reason to hurry. The cottage itself seemed to cradle all who entered, wrapping them in a soft calm that dissolved troubles and invited gentle, thoughtful reflection. As the sun's rays began to slope toward afternoon, the glade still maintained that precious early morning tranquility. The forest was a vast tapestry, each part woven with care. Birds, trees, flowers, the mild hush of wind, and the steady, comforting presence of the cottage. It was a place set apart, shielded by ancient bark and cushioned by thick moss. Each creature that stepped into the clearing felt the gentle magic of a world at peace, where worries and cares fell away like leaves in a mild autumn breeze. And so, in that serene realm, the day continued in easy harmony, a testament to the beauty that emerges when dawn gently opens its arms to welcome the life of a new day. As dusk began to hint at its eventual approach, the glade still shimmered with a soft glow. The birds now sang in a relaxed cadence, and the warm hush of the forest invited a winding down. Snow White tidied her small home, putting away any stray items and making sure the windows were partly open to let the evening air drift in when the sun finally set. With a gentle heart, she gazed around the single-room cottage, content in its simplicity. Soon, the sunlight lengthened into golden beams that kissed the treetops. The leaves shimmered, caught in the fleeting embrace of the day's last bright glow. Softly, animals returned to their hidden homes, lulled into the hush that precedes nightfall. The forest, still full of life, began to slow its pace. Snow White prepared a light supper, the pleasant scent carrying into the clearing, encouraging one last flurry of curiosity from the small creatures that lingered outside. But even their movements softened, as though lulled by the promise of rest. With the meal finished and the cottage tidy, Snow White took a final moment to step outside. Standing on the threshold, she quietly observed the lowering sun as it gilded the tops of the tallest pines. Birds, yawning in their own way, settled into nests among the branches, letting out soft, sleepy chirps. The hush of twilight fell, encouraging the cottage and its surroundings into deeper repose. A few last notes of birdsong drifted across the clearing, gentle and dreamlike, as if to say goodnight. Satisfied, Snow White re-entered the cozy cottage and eased the door shut with care. The early day that had begun with delicate birdsong was coming to an end, carrying with it a sense of fulfillment. The forest, grateful for its hours of light, slowly relaxed into evening's gentle embrace. Inside the cottage, the air was warm and comforting, scented with the sweet memory of wildflowers and herbs. Snow White moved to her bed near the window, the same window that welcomed the dawn's first light. She drew the curtains slightly, leaving just enough space for moonbeams to slip through later on. There, in the gentle hush, she settled down, the soft blanket drawn across her. The rhythmic sound of her own breath seemed to echo the forest's slow exhalation. Each breath became a quiet invitation to embrace the night's rest. Outside, the last notes of bird calls were nearly spent, replaced by the subdued lull of crickets tuning their evening chorus. The trees barely stirred in the mild breeze, and the glade itself seemed to sink into a contented sleep. In that silence, the cottage walls stood as steadfast guardians, creating a cocoon of warmth and safety. Overhead, the sky turned to a quiet blue, gently darkening. Stars would soon begin their faint glow, peering through the thick canopy of leaves. The clearing, once bright with morning, now settled into a calm twilight hush. All through the forest, creatures large and small prepared for rest. The wind, gentle as a lullaby, soothed them. The day's tasks were done, and the stillness of the hour invited dreams. Even the memory of the dawn's vibrancy seemed to whisper its encouragement. To lie down, to let go, and to drift into the realm of slumber, where everything softens and peace reigns. Inside the cottage, Snow White's breathing grew slower, her eyelids fluttering shut. A deep tranquility enveloped her, folding her into restful darkness that glowed with the memory of a sunlit morning. Beyond the cottage door, the forest sighed in harmony with her. The branches overhead made a soft canopy, leaves rustling in a final lullaby, and the small stream in the distance whispered its endless song. The hush that had welcomed the dawn now cradled the approaching night, a perfect circle of peace and renewal. In this timeless haven, nature's lullaby offered a promise. Every dawn brings a chance for gentle beginnings, and every night invites a healing rest. In the comforting hush of that twilight, the birds and forest friends found their places of safety. Sleep grew thick and comforting, wrapping them in the memory of the day's gentle wonders. The forest was at peace. The night was mild. Each star that emerged overhead was like a small promise of tomorrow's light. Now, at your own edge of awareness, feel the quiet that lingers in the glade. Imagine the hush of trees all around you, the soft drifting of dusk, and the faint echo of birdsong as they settle for the night. Breathe in and let that calm spread through your body, as if you too are part of that tranquil place. Feel your muscles relax, your thoughts slow, and the gentle heaviness that invites deep rest. This is the time to let all cares fade away, like distant echoes in a quiet forest. No more worries, no more obligations, only the soft hush of your breath and the assurance that, just like the forest, you can surrender to a peaceful, healing sleep. Rest now, dear traveler of dreams. May you find serenity in the lull of the night, and wake with the promise of a new dawn. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well.